Hello, everyone. This is Edwin Epperson, your host of The Sophisticated Investor. The Sophisticated Investor is an incredible community which is focused on education, training, and collaboration to help each of our members, and that includes you, to build, protect, and preserve your family's generational wealth. Now, I believe that we truly have a unique and one-of-a-kind educational community. For one, I believe that there are 4 primary markets, not just one. I believe that those 4 primary markets include your personal finance and mindset market. I believe the second market is your hard, tangible asset market. I believe that the third market is your stock and paper market. And I believe the fourth market is your business investing market. Now, those 4 markets are imperative to be able to understand and then call yourself a sophisticated investor. Today, we have an incredible guest who is going to educate us on their preferred market of investing as well as the assets that they like to invest in. Please join me as we welcome today's guest. And today we have with us on the show, Asa Paterson. Asa, welcome to The Sophisticated Investor.
Thank you for having me, Edwin. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man.
Awesome.
Fantastic. So I think everybody on the show is going to be super excited about not only the content that you're bringing, but your background that you're bringing as well. You've got a very honorable, but a very experienced background. So let's just dive right in.
All right.
Explain to us a little bit about your background, and we'll go from there, man.
All right. So I have a headset on because I like to move around. So I'm going to try to stay in one spot and just move my lower body. How far do you want me to go back, man?
So let's do this. So you're in the credit repair, credit improving space.
Yes.
So you're taking clients from no matter what their credit score is, getting it better.
Yes.
So what was the pivotal moment? Because most people are not like, you know what, I'm going to get into the credit repair business.
Yes,
so
right.
What was the catalyst to get you into this space?
Yes. All right. So the catalyst was 2007, 2008. That is when the market fell out. And I was part of it. I was a real estate investor, or still am, a real estate investor at that time, and was doing a lot of lease options, a lot of pre-foreclosure, and a lot of transactions personally. And when the market turned, I bottomed out just like everyone else. Went from a 6-bedroom home, almost 7,000 square feet on a quarter acre in Las Vegas, to a 2-bedroom townhouse where the entire unit could fit in my bedroom. Right. So I got hit hard just like everyone else. And I was being hounded by debt collectors. That my phone was blowing up. I stopped answering my phone if it didn't look like someone I knew, because I was being hounded left and right by debt collectors. And I'm nosy. So I'm just trying to figure out how can I stop this or slow it down or do something. And I opened up the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Now, you really got to geek out to do that, Edwin.
Yeah, right.
I opened it up saying, let me try to find some stuff in here. And I just started, dude, I can't realize how much of a geek I am when I say that out loud. But I just started reading it, and I was super fascinated with all the stuff that I was learning and how no one knew the truth, and how debt collectors were just really, really doing a disservice to the consumer, to the public, because they didn't know.
So that is incredible, because I think even in today's age, when we have access to so much information and so many credit reports and credit this and credit that, people are still unaware of what makes my credit score. Why is so? And Asa, you and I go way back. So, so just because we're coming off Memorial Day weekend,
right?
Let my listening audience know the type of man that they are listening to right now.
Well, I think service is very important, and I've always been in service to others. After I left college, I went to the United States Marine Corps as an officer, and served 4 years, a little over 4 years, and actually was discharged on a medical disability. I broke my neck. They went in here. I have a plate with 4 screws. But that was just the beginning of my serving. I just really uh, believe that people should know. And if I know, I'm going to tell people about it. Been married 23 years and have 7 awesome
Oh
children.
man.
And just believe in being an entrepreneur and being informed and helping people.
Oh man. So we could go off on that alone, right? So there's there's a lady that I'm going to have on hopefully within the next 2 weeks, and when we're going to be going through the podcast and getting her show edited. But she is a entrepreneur coach, so
Okay.
she spends a lot of time coaching. And her and I were talking briefly just the other day about all of the that drive to be an entrepreneur, and everything. Everybody is attracted to the words and attracted to this thought process. Oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to create something for myself. I'm going to build something for myself. And they fail to understand that this support network, and
Yes.
you know this better than most people, the support network that is in place to help you succeed is unbelievable. And it is typically, for an entrepreneur, not typically, I'll say most of the times, it is most of the time sort of push it aside, like, well, you know what, I expect that. That's just something that needs to be there. And this is a whole nother podcast in and of itself. But if you will, so you're married and you have 7 children. So
Yes.
how impactful has that been for you as far as your work-life balance? I guess that's the terminology now, but really coming home and saying, hey babe, and this is how I talk to Carolina. Hey babe, how's your day? How are you doing? And how can I help you? Like maintaining that work-life balance, that synergy that happens between you, your wife, and 7 children, man. Like that's incredible. Like people hear it, people that are listening are maybe single, they may be married, they may have 1, 2 children,
Right.
but
Right.
man, you've got to, like, somebody hears that, like, oh my gosh, like a married and 7 kids. How do you
Right.
handle that?
Right.
So if you could, just real quick, if you could, what are some key takeaways that somebody that's wanting to be an entrepreneur, wanting to build something from scratch, that they can take away and say, Asa talked about this and he's been there, done that. Like that's something I can take away.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want you to know is you can't complain to me, right? There's nothing that you can say or do that will make me feel like, oh, I'm sorry that you're going through that. It's just not. So just real quick, and on an aside, when I go on field trips with my children, uh, other parents are just exhausted because they have 4, maybe 5 children, right? And we get on the bus and they're like, oh my God. So I'm looking at them smiling like, hey, I've been on vacation. Oh man. But as an entrepreneur, it's a different world, on the outside looking in and hearing the word and, Instagram and Snapchat and all those things. It makes it look so sexy, but it's
Exactly.
not. I mean,
Exactly.
it's something that has to be planned out. It's something that you have to communicate with others with, because something is going, I don't know who said it, and I'm sure you've heard it, Edwin. An entrepreneur will work 80 hours to not work 40 hours for someone else.
Yes, it's so true, man.
It's ridiculous, right? And life is so much sweeter as an employee. If I could untake the pill, sometimes I may do it, right? Right. So you have to make sure this is something that you want, or is something bigger driving you to that space.
Yeah.
I went through college and I was a scholarship athlete and a Marine, and I just don't believe in quitting, stopping. So once you get into it, it's hard to go back. I mean, I calculate how much people are making a year, and I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, man, I can't do that. I'll take half of that than to do that, right?
Right. Right.
But Edwin, if I was an employee, I would most definitely probably only have two or one child. And the reason being is because I wouldn't have the energy. Because this is, to me, it's exhausting going to work every day, right? Um, so I would only have two children because of the rat race and the rigmarole of that.
Yeah.
And I just would not appreciate them as much as I do. Um, I just love watching them, man. They're just amazing creatures. Even my 16-year-old should be 17 this year. Just to watch them in their space, I just love to watch it, right? And I would not want to do that if I was caught up in somebody else's
Yeah.
dream, right? Because when you're working for someone else, you're helping them build their dream.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man. So, all right. So you're married, and you've been married to the same woman. It is unfortunate to say in this day and age in America that
Right.
is such a rarity, but
and then I also have to say, Edwin, 7 children by the same woman, no blend or mix. And I just say it just to say it because I just don't want, I found out that people, if I didn't explain it, they were assuming that I had 7 children by maybe 6 women, and man, Edwin, when I understood that was what some people thought, I was like, oh my God, that hurt my feelings. And there's nothing wrong with having multiple children by different. I'm just saying.
So I have not met your wife. One day I want to. So I'm married to a Latina. Okay. I'm married to a Latina. She is fiery as all get out. If she heard if she was married to you and she heard what other people said or what they were thinking about you, oh yeah,
right.
you got 7 kids. So how many different women? Dude, she would go off on it. And I would venture to say, just by knowing your personality, you're probably married to a woman that is passionate about you and your marriage. Like, she is passionate. Like, there's no passionate. The word passionate does not even begin to encompass what her feeling is towards you. So I'm sorry, man. I'm thinking like,
no, you're good.
So has she ever been involved in a conversation where somebody's like, oh yeah, oh, you're married to Asa? So
no one has said it.
Okay.
But the expression on their faces said it.
All right.
Enough. Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean that's the time we live in,
Hey, exactly, right? Right. You could have a conversation in somebody's facial expressions, the way that they interact with you, say 90% of what they're actually saying, and then 10% is what's actually coming out of their mouth.
Right.
So that being said, let's dive into what you're specifically doing now, because you are helping in a realm with credit, the credit score, the credit industry. It's this big, giant cloud on many Americans' backs, and they don't understand what this cloud is about, what the credit industry is about, and all the details that are entailed in that. If you could take a few minutes to, in your walk, in your experience, and specifically what you're helping people do, what is it about the credit industry that is so, I mean, I could just say this was so overwhelming, but in your experience, what is it about the credit industry that people just, you know what? I'm going to rip this mail up. I'm going to rip this letter up. I'm not going to pay attention to it.
We're reactionary. We play defense instead of going on offense. We don't think about Christmas until December 12th.
Right.
And
oh man, I gotta set this home now.
Right. So when it comes to credit, it is the biggest, and that's why I'm amazed that I'm dealing with it, because no one wants to talk about it. How can you be in a business to market something that people shun away from because they're all embarrassed? So in my marketing now, I'm showing my score where I never would have before. I'm showing my score where it was and where it is now. But it's something that will keep you. Um, it will keep you down. It will keep you from progressing so much that you don't even know it. Your car insurance is predicated on your credit score.
No kidding.
Your health insurance is predicated on it.
What?
Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian are information databases. All they do is store information. In the beginning, before it got regulated, it would give information on the man if he was cheating on his wife. It would give personal information about it. It became an information database, right? That was the beginning of the internet with
Wow.
those companies. So it is collecting data from you. Any company with a budget, a marketing budget, is going to buy data from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. There are others, but those are the main three. So they're
Yep.
buying this information to determine if you are some sort of risk. That's
Yep.
all the credit score is, from 350 to 850. That's determining my level of risk of when I go into business with you in any kind of shape, form, or fashion. So if your credit is a 350, or let's say 500, and you're applying for car insurance, if I see your score is at 500 and you're 40 years old, I feel that you are a risk. I feel that you're irresponsible to be at this age with a credit score like that. Now, I'm not saying that that person is, but
Yep.
this is something that I'm using as a dashboard to determine
Yep.
whether or not I'm going to extend an offer to you, right? So people do not know how damaging, and I never knew how damaging and how large the industry is, and how they sell information. That's all they do.
So let's dive into this.
All
So
right.
you've got your eyes have been opened, the onion has been peeled, whatever euphemism you want to use.
Yes.
So you had mentioned in 2007, 2008, 2009, when the real estate market, which is what you were invested in, and
Yes.
if any of the listeners are invested in the stock market, then you realize that your assets started to drop in 2006, 2007,
Right.
2008. So there's about a 2-year difference between these two markets, but both markets took a nosedive.
Right.
And so you're obviously in this tailspin. And I do not believe, I honestly do not believe that the American public in general, and even as a whole, not even in general, but just as a whole, do not understand. And just like you had mentioned just a few minutes ago, credit is used to determine your rates on your car insurance. Obviously we know credit cards, right? So when
Right.
people think of credit, they think of credit cards, but
Right.
everything else is sort of an outlier. Explain to me what the connection is between my credit card and I'm going to buy a new car. So why is all of that connected? And I know that's sort of maybe a really high level, but is there a difference between a credit score between the three credit bureaus, which you just mentioned, and just my day-to-day life as I am working and I'm paying bills? Is there something that correlates together? Like, is there something that ties it all together? And how, as an individual, can I affect the system? Because this is a big system.
Right. So if I'm understanding you, the way it ties in together is the system. It's the machine against us,
Yeah.
and it's designed to extract money from you. That's all
Okay.
the system wants to do.
Yeah.
So if I don't educate you
Yeah.
on how important this is in college, I stayed in a house with a bunch of my buddies from college, and we had a couple guys that didn't pay rent, so we couldn't pay the entire portion, but we paid what we, accept their portion. And the landlord used to walk through the house yelling at us, telling us we don't realize how much we're damaging our credit. This is not as funny as we think it is. And I'm laughing, right? And, this is over 30 years later, and I still remember him saying that stuff, right? It's nothing that you're not educated about it. So if I can create a system where you don't know that I'm stealing from you and you don't know it, and you let me do that your entire life, then I'm not going to tell you. Even though it's available in a book. Oh my goodness. You still there, Edwin?
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
All right. I clicked off some kind of way.
Oh, you're good. You're still live.
All right, cool. All right. So, so the way it ties together is that it's the system, us against the machine. And if we can keep you from understanding the truth, let me tell you about this. Okay. So when someone is unable to pay their American Express, their Visa, their MasterCard, there is a 180-day period that must transpire. If that credit card company cannot collect money for 180 days,
okay,
by federal law, they must write that off as a loss.
Okay.
All right. So let's say Visa writes it off as a loss. So what that means is they are able to recoup on their taxes the loss. Most of the accounts are insured, so they get to place that insurance claim. And then they sell it to a third-party debt collector.
So wait. What you just said is that and this is not a ding on any credit bureau. So if anybody is listening and they work for one of the 3 credit bureaus,
stop it.
Not so experience says, Asa, you or Edwin, you have not paid your Visa credit card for the past 180 days, which is 6 months.
Yes.
You know what? So there's two things going on right here with me. They are like, you had better pay us. You had better pay us. You had better pay us.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're saying, hey, insurance, they have insurance on my credits, my ability to pay their.
So let me ask you this question, Edwin. If you could insure all your loans, would you do it?
Absolutely.
So really, you don't care if it goes to foreclosure because you've hedged yourself.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead. Continue.
All right.
Put another hat on.
So they're sitting here. They're saying, hey, insurance company, I've hedged my bet. This one guy, Edwin Epperson, is not paying his credit card. So we're going to go ahead and file a claim. Now, the claim is my total credit limit, which we're assuming is maxed out. I've got a $10,000 credit card. I've completely maxed it out, and I haven't been paying for the past 180 days. So they're filing that claim for the $10,000 for the 180 days, correct?
After 180 days, they have to write it off as a loss, and then they file their claim. They do it.
Okay. Now, that's really important. So some people who are listening are not entrepreneurs. So they're W-2 employees. They work for somebody else. So for them to hear they wrote it off as a loss, for them is in one ear, out the other. And it's nothing against them, but they don't understand the financial benefit of being able to write off a loss. Okay. So what does that mean?
Right. So they're able to, just when you file your own taxes.
All
right. And they give you the ability to itemize with the deductions.
Yep.
So you can say, for someone who doesn't understand that they're itemizing the loss of that credit card on their taxes.
Yep.
So if their income was $100,000, your loss of $10,000 now brings their taxable income down to $90,000,
That's it.
allows them, yes,
Yeah.
they benefit
So
from the loss.
exactly. So for all the listeners that are, again, the sophisticated investors, about increasing the financial and the business acumen of our listeners. So if for somebody that is maybe a W-2 employee that's looking to go into the entrepreneur space, they, for the past however many years, have been working for another company, and this company
Right.
incurs income and they incur losses. Those
Correct.
losses offset their income on paper, like it is a paper. And what you're saying is that so in this case where Edwin Epperson has not paid his Visa credit card for 180 days, and he has not only not paid $10,000, but now he's incurred a bunch of late fees and everything else on top of that. The credit card company goes to their insurer and says, hey, listen, we're going to file this claim, $10,000 and whatever other else that is wrapped into their policy. We're going to
Right.
file that on this bad creditor, Edwin Epperson. And so they're going to get the $10,000 that they claimed as loss from their insurance company.
Why wouldn't they?
Exactly. So they're going to get $10,000 from them. They've just been recouped.
Right.
But now they are going to be able to go and say, hey, Edwin Epperson, every week, every month, every day, we're going to give you a call. We're going to shoot you an email. We're going to send you a paper mail. Pay us our $10,000.
So after 180 days, it's not them. It's someone completely different. And legal terms is a third-party intervener.
Okay. So
what happens is when they sell it to, and by the way, I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. So if you need a legal advice, please consult an attorney. So the companies that are calling are collecting on behalf of the debt that is no longer a debt until the uneducated consumer, the individual on the end of the phone, goes into an agreement.
Look at that.
So at the 180 days, 185 of calling, Edwin, we need our money. Yeah, this is Visa, right? Yes, we're calling on behalf of Visa, blah, 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 right? And we're like, well, we can set up a payment plan today. Can you pay $35 now? Yes, I can pay $35, right? And now you have contracted to pay that third-party intervener the debt that you were not legally, morally, or ethically obligated to pay in the first place. Let that sink in. So a debt collector, after 180 days that calls a person, you can tell them to go pound sand. All right. Now, what happens, Edwin, is they'll do a non-permissible pull of your credit report. Right? The third party does not have any involvement with the individual. They didn't extend credit to the individual. The individual didn't ask that firm for credit. So now that's a non-permissible pull. They can see that this person has worked for the transit authority for 24 years. That then allows them to make the decision, I think we want to take this person to court. They take the person to court. One of two things happens. One, the person doesn't show, and that's an automatic deficiency judgment, meaning the person loses, the company wins. Now they have a judgment which is enforceable for garnishment because that person wouldn't agree to go into contract with them. So they use the legalities of the legal system to force them to go into contract with them. That's the one way, right? So they don't show up. The second way is you're there, but you don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly, so right?
So they go before the judge and it's like, hey, do you owe this? Did you owe this money? They phrase it so open-ended if you really listen.
Yeah.
Right? Or did you owe this money? Well, yeah, I owe the money. All right. Judgment for the plaintiff. Right? And people walk out there like, what happened? Right? The question is, Your Honor, what money and to who? Your Honor, can I have validation that I owe this company money? Your Honor, can you show me a contract where my signature is on the contract saying that I will borrow money from them and I will pay them back? The things that that company cannot do because they're collecting on the evidence of something that has gone away.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So how so Asa, this is a rabbit hole that you can really dive into and start to pick away.
Yes.
So for anybody that's listening, and here's what I want to present out there to everybody that's listening. Just because somebody has bad credit or they have struggled with bad credit is not indicative to their character and who they are as a person, right? So you mentioned that you were invested in real estate, and then 2007, 2008 happened, and I have come across this. I can't even count how many times people that have been through that period of history and their credit has been shot. I personally, unfortunately, went through a divorce, so I know the damaging effects of a divorce. And having these two individuals that are mad at each other, and you're affecting the ability to grow and build a business, which at the time you're just simply pissed at each other, and you'll say and do anything to piss the other person off. But the long-term effects are detrimental. So for those that are listening that maybe either one, you've never had an issue and you're thinking, why is this an issue? Number one, I want to let you know that you cannot control your destiny. As much as we as humans want to think that we control our destiny, I'm sorry, we don't. No. And for those who have been there, that have struggled, that have gone through a divorce, that have gone through a bankruptcy, that have gone through there's a gentleman that we're getting ready to close a loan with next 2 weeks, and he's actually fraud on somebody got his information, opened up a bunch of accounts, started taking out loans and using credit cards in his name, completely unaware until he became aware. And then he's like, oh, wait a second, I'm 150 days past due on all of these bills. I've got to try to figure this out. There are situations where the majority of people don't understand. So if somebody has any issue, and let's say they don't even have an issue, let's say they've been just going by, but for some reason they cannot get above the 675, 700, 720, 750 mark, what is it that you, Asa Paterson, can do to help them take it to the next level?
Right. So if they are stuck at the, let's say 670, there are inaccuracies on the credit report. I have software and that will, once we load it into the software, it shows, it'll highlight in pink all of the inaccuracies that are across the 3 credit bureaus. They're supposed to mirror.
Okay.
And if they don't mirror, they must delete it. Most people will send in a dispute letter asking for it to be updated or corrected, or they would just say this information is inaccurate. Well, dealing with the credit bureaus, it's like dealing with a subordinate soldier. Right? You just give them an order, a direct, firm order on what to do. So this person, if they're stuck at that number, they must have some inaccuracies on their credit report, because remember, it's their information storehouse, right? They just store information, and it's all data entry, right? So some human put that information in the system, and it could have been incorrect. So I would know for sure that they have some inaccuracies on their credit bureau. There's something called statute of limitations. After so many years, something negative or something that is not the greatest that's on someone's credit report legally has to fall off. Most of the time, the consumer has to inform the credit bureaus that this is past right? So people just don't know. So
Yep.
I truly believe everyone should have some kind of credit monitoring, because you never know what you have on there. I'm working with an administrator at a school in Indiana, and she was amazed at all the wrong stuff that was on her credit report. She had um, student loans in duplicate on all her credit reports. She said, Asa, I only have 2 loans. Okay, well, on here you have 7. It was just
Wow.
amazing how
Wow.
inaccurate your information is. And those things pull your score down. And why would the system want your inaccurate information to stay? So that my shares, we're talking about stocks earlier, my shares in the insurance company that's giving you insurance continue to increase. All right. So it's buyer beware. I can
What's
see your
up, young
head.
man? Who's that over there?
This is my son, Ty.
Ty, how you doing, sir?
He can't hear
He
you.
can't hear you. Oh, man.
No,
All right. All right.
this is Edwin.
Hello.
See you later.
Dude, he's
Coming down here to see. Yes, he is. And you know what? Because I have headphones on, he didn't know who I was talking to or what I was doing. Oh, man.
man.
Yeah.
So going back to this issue of, man, that's so powerful. So it's so funny because, so just to give you a little bit of background into what my wife and I are going through right now,
Okay.
we are struggling with infertility. So,
Mm.
as we are on this journey to get pregnant, she has had to become an advocate for her personal health. An advocate like Asa. I cannot, this woman is just incredible. The amount of time and energy she has dedicated to researching her body and what is going on with internally. What I'm hearing from you is that people who, regardless of what's happened in the past, right? The past is the past. If they are saying, hey, listen, I want to start anew, I want to start moving forward, for them to become aware of what's in the past, they have to become an advocate for moving forward. And that takes taking a hard look at what has happened and where they are at now, and then addressing these issues that I believe, personally, me, having gone through a divorce, I just wanted to cover these things in a bed sheet and just say, you know what, I'm just going to ignore this. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is, how important is it for someone to really just say, you know what, I'm going to face my demons, and then come find out they're not demons, they're just little puppy dogs that have been barking at you.
Right.
So how important is it for someone to sit down and just take a good hard look at what is before them?
What's so amazing is that we won't take a look typically, because I'm enjoying the warm, cozy feeling of watching Game of Thrones. I don't know anything about Game of Thrones, and that's why I bring it up, right? I've tried to watch it, and I just can't do it. So I guess people will they turn me off right there, right? We're so reactionary, Edwin, you know, and I'm sure, I'm amazed that I'm sure the information that your wife is sharing with you about how fragile we are as humans, and how just important so many different vitamins and minerals and nutrition and sleep, and we don't think about those things, but it's so important because credit is the master manipulator that is invisible but is there. So anytime, you can have an 800 credit score, you still should have your stuff looked at, because it really should be 825, right? But we don't do it until we need something, right? So what's amazing about what you do is that as I get my clients' credit score better, I'm not doing. I hate to see on Facebook, hey, I had a 600 credit score. Now I have an 820, and I'm driving a brand new BMW. It just hurts me so much because they missed the education piece on what he could use, where he could buy an asset. That asset buys the BMW.
There
So
you go.
I take my clients to that kind of level as well, with just a different way of thinking when it comes to themselves and their credit, and that as an asset for their own retirement.
Oh man, you hit the nail on the head, Asa. I'm telling you, you hit the nail on the head. So for all the listeners, I want you to hone in on the fact, the evidence that is before you. You've got a gentleman in front of you that you're listening to, and there is something to be said about watching and maintaining your credit score, because there could come a point, and I have seen this personally, where somebody is at a 780, 790, but they're not above that 800. But if you could get above that 800, if you could get that, I mean, just minuscule in the grand scheme of credit score points, if you could raise your credit score just a few points, you would have access. And for all of the listeners right now, I want you to hear this. By focusing in, what Asa is telling us, by focusing in on your credit score and I mean, just zeroing in on those deficiencies that are causing your credit score not to be at the optimum level, you are missing out on opportunities. And Asa, how costly is missed opportunity cost?
Man, dude, you can't put a priceless, right? And what's amazing, Edwin, is that when you don't know what you don't know, that's when you're hurt the most. So you can have a 787 credit score.
Yep.
And 3 points that's holding you back from changing your generation.
Yep.
Changing your future. But it's okay. We like to go hang out,
stick our
man.
Head in the sand. We go to the bar. We say, it's not going to be a big deal. Let me swipe the card.
I was guilty of that too. We all go through it. But how fast can you go through that and wake up and get yourself together and get in a different place? It just takes, what they say, something is wasted on the youth. I can't think of it. But, it's really wasted because, man, so that's why I'm excited about my children. If I can pour into them and they know once they hit 18 and they have stuff reporting, then we're going to get all these assets to pay for the cost of living. It's amazing. If your dad and my dad at 5 was like, hey, son, we got to think of a way to do things that pay you money so that you can live. That sounds weird even saying it, right? But it's like, what does that mean? So at 18, let's say we were involved in our first real estate transaction, a 4-unit, right? At 18, even if we go to the military, go to college, that 4-unit can pay some bills, right? It begins becoming an asset. It becomes generating revenue. Yeah, so it's just something that we all should look at much sooner than later. And college for me was just the biggest nail in the coffin that started the whole fiasco, man. It's crazy. I was a freshman, dude, at U of I. I had 6 credit cards. I was a student athlete. I couldn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
So why do I have 6 credit cards, dude? Oh man, so I as soon as I left the gate, I got tripped up, man. So it's just, but that happens to everyone, and the good piece about the credit cards in college, right? They were given 2 liters of pop with each application. Dude, I'm carrying them all to the camp, to my dorm room, dropping them and stuff. But that's what the system does. It entices you to do the worst things in the beginning. And once we start maturing and getting older, we start seeing things and learning things, and now we're 20 years behind with that compounding of the growth of money.
So, unfortunately, we are approaching our 45-minute, and Asa, I want to extend to you a open arm. Like, I want you back on the
I'm
show. I
coming
want
back.
to dive in,
Yes.
and let's talk about some of the things in the next show, how people can start addressing some of these key aspects that they may not even be aware of that they can do themselves. Like, it does not take an attorney, it does not take
Right.
a financial genius to do the things that they can do to improve their credit score.
Right.
So we'll dive into that the next show.
Okay.
But in the meantime, if
Yes.
somebody says, you know what, man, he's a Marine. I understand that. Yeah, it's okay, but I would love to reach out. And so for all the listeners, I'm an Army guy. Ace is a Marine. So there's just this inner
He's an Army dog.
brotherhood rivalry, right? So, but if anybody
Yeah.
says, "Hey, listen, Ace, man, he's hitting my heartstrings. He is speaking exactly where I am at today, right now." How can they reach out to you? How can they find you? What is the best way that they can reach out to you? Say, Asa, I need your help.
Great. So the best way is I have a Facebook group. It's a private group, but you can find it and request an invite. The name of the group is Debt Collection Destroyer Community. Debt Collection Destroyer Community. And just request to join the group and you can message me there. I'm Asa E. Patterson on Facebook. I just really want your questions answered on my Facebook page, in the community. I have a bunch of videos there where you can learn more. The first thing I would just get is my free credit report, or start with Credit Karma. And then just take a look and see what information is there.
Yeah.
My best client is one who is educated. This guy came to me and he's like, I got 12 things. I don't know how many. I got a number of things already off my credit report. I got my student loans deleted. I got this updated and everything, but I can't do these 3 things. Can you help me? Right? I was like, yeah, I got you. I've done those before. Right? And our conversation, I'm excited talking to him, right? Because he understands what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? So the more educated you can become, the more fear leaves. This is so powerful because you're afraid to go to court. You're afraid to talk to this person on the phone. That's why I never answer the phone, because I don't know what to say to them. They're trying to get the
Right.
money I don't have.
Right. Yeah.
But when you become educated on what they can and cannot do, you become empowered, right? So just start.
Man.
So much out there on the internet, but some of it is incorrect as well. And I give it to you straight, and
Exactly.
with no chaser, because that's how it should be. It all takes time. Credit to me means creating revenue everyone deserves in time. C.R.E.D.I.T. Credit.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that. I like that.
Creating revenue
Revenue
everyone deserves in time.
in time.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes, I'm glad you like it. Because it's so true. That's what credit is about. You're
Yep.
going to deserve it in time because you've gone through it. And just reach out to me. I would love to have some people come around. I just switched over from ClickFunnels to Contra for my lead pages and everything, and it's all screwed up working with my webmaster. So that's the best way to get a hold of me right now is Debt Collection Destroyer Community.
There you go. On Facebook.
Yes.
There we
Yes.
go. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely put that in the show notes, and you
Great.
and I will have a conversation afterwards. If there's any other phone numbers, emails, and all that, we'll
Awesome.
get all of that and we'll post it
Okay.
in the show notes.
Yeah.
And man, Asa, I am super stoked about
this. Is awesome. I had a great time, man. Had an awesome time talking to you, man. We're gonna definitely have to keep this going.
We will definitely do this again. We'll schedule something else, and the next time you come on, we are really going to dive into the
Awesome.
nitty gritty, helping someone start addressing some of those. And like you said, it could be anybody from a 790, they're trying to get above that 800 mark, all the way to a 350 or 400. And they're like, oh my gosh, my life has been shattered because of all of these issues. And I can attack this. How can I do that? And so,
can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
One of the reasons I know, because I had someone, their credit is not above 800, is called utilization. That's 30% of your score. So if you have a $10,000 credit card, the the system wants you to be under 30%. So you cannot go above $3,000 on that $10,000 credit card. When you
Wow.
do, your score falls. So check it out. I missed the payoff on when my credit card was going to report for the month. Whatever, I
Oh,
just missed it.
snap. Oh,
Yes,
hold up.
yes,
Hold
yes.
up.
So this is awesome. 54 points, dude. That's how much it went down in one missed payment.
You missed one payment, and it went down.
No, I didn't miss the payment. I didn't pay the full amount to bring my utilization back down.
Oh, wow.
So you can call your credit card and say, hey, what day is the cutoff for your reporting to the credit bureau? Right? So I knew that day, but I had some internet stuff, and I didn't have the payment set. So when I saw I missed the date, I'm like, ah! So I called them and made the payment. I say, so is this going to report with the new balance? She was like, no, sir, the cutoff was, 2 days ago. I'm like, shit, right? So when I got my score after this so I went from probably like 21% utilization to 60, right? But when I do that, I always pay the stuff off before the cutoff.
Yeah.
Right? To bring it back down under 30.
Yeah.
The sweet spot is like 8%. 54 points, Edwin. I'm not in the middle of making a major purchase or anything, so it doesn't matter, but that's how much it hurts. And I'm still below 60% utilization. Most people's cards are at 80, 90, 100%.
Yep.
Right? So I just wanted to share that
Man, that
little bit. Yeah.
Oosh.
Right.
All right. So for all the listeners, everybody that's listening, if you are trying to take your credit to the next level, then you need to reach out to Asa, Debt Collection Destroyer Community.
Yes.
On Facebook.
Yes.
Man, and I know for a fact, I will vouch for Asa. This gentleman he is a gentleman and a scholar. He is going to take you to the next level. He will walk with you. I am super, super excited about having you back on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. All right. This is Edwin Epperson. Asa, thank you for being on the show with us today. Definitely look forward to having you back on. God bless.
God bless.
And we will have a good rest of the week.
All right.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
And that wraps up our show for The Sophisticated Investor. Thank you so much for joining me and joining our guest today as we dove into the specific assets and the market that they invest in. Please join us again when we dive into more investing techniques and strategies in different assets within different markets so that we can help you, the listener, and our community member build, protect, and preserve your family's generational wealth. This is Edwin Epperson, your host of The Sophisticated Investor. God bless and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I'm super excited. So I don't want to waste your time. We're already at 5:17. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So I know that you're coming on the show, and what you want to talk about is the credit repair, credit improving space.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So walk me through I've been reading your all the information you put in in a nutshell. What is it that you want me to drive the point home for you?
So that's a great question. It's kind of two things. Maybe you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
Learn from somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my son Jai, and he's more entrepreneurial spirit than the other children. And I was like, dude, I'm so excited for you. You're only 11, but you get to have 47 years of experience from go.
Yeah.
And he thought about it for a little while, and he came back and we talked about it, so that's one thing you really don't know. And you should stand on the shoulder of someone else. Why are you laughing? What's up? What you
Man,
thinking?
I love you, bro. Like, I miss you so much.
Dude, so we go from now on every week we're gonna touch base.
All right.
Yeah. Dude, yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I love your story. And of course, we've got that personal connection, right? So we've got that personal. But seriously, like when you talk about your seven children, and how many of your children are boys and young ladies?
4 young ladies.
Oh my goodness, man.
I know, man. But listen, this is the killer though. So we started with 1 girl, then 3 boys. I could have been done.
Why didn't you stop?
I was scared to go get cut, man. Oh man,
that's my biggest fear, man. I know.
So listen, let me tell you this.
Oh man.
So I had bailed out 3 times.
Yeah.
All right. So this final appointment, man, the morning of, I'm like, man, forget this. So I called my dad and was telling him, he was like, dude, you better suck it up. And so he gave me the phone number to my cousin who works in a center in Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
So I called him like, hey, man, I got to go. My appointment is in a couple of hours. What do I do? She's like, what's wrong? She's like, we do thousands a week. I'm like, are you serious? That many? She's like, where she is, I think it was like 7, 8 doctors. And that's all they do. And I'm like,
snip guys.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. That's what I said. I said, okay, if you were a man, would you do it? She said, yeah. I was like, her son, I was like, I can't say it. I don't remember his name right now. I was like, did he do it? She's like, yes. I was like, so I shouldn't worry about it. She's like, no. I was like, okay, if something happened, I'm coming to you because you're family. And so that's what put me back over the hump, man. I didn't know they did that many. I just thought I never knew. Yeah.
So my dad, I'm the oldest of 6. So
Okay.
my dad was is the running joke is that my dad and my mom didn't have cable. So
Right.
And so I remember when he got snipped, it was a lot of, for me as a kid, like it was a lot of days seeing my dad like just walking around the house like, oh
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta ask you, man, is it that bad? Like the recovery aspect?
Right. It's a little longer than they said, right? And of course, Mim's like, man, there's nothing.
Yeah.
It was just uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's like, it's like you just got grazed by a football.
Yeah.
And
I've been there, bro.
And it doesn't go away. Yeah. So the recovery was a little longer than I thought it was going to be.
All right.
But it was none to it. Now check it out. My wife was in the room.
Really?
She was like, I'm not waiting outside. She was in the room watching like it wasn't none
like a hawk. Oh man, dude, that's a whole nother podcast, man. What are we doing? We gotta get focused.
Yeah.
Asa, bro, I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked about today. All right, man. All right, so let's go ahead and get we'll go ahead and oh yeah, we're already recording. So I'm just gonna be so this is the way the show goes, right?
All right.
So I've got an intro, an outro. So when I officially start, it's just going to be, and today we have with us Asa Paterson, and that's how it's going to end. And that's how it's going to start. And when I end, it's going to be, and thanks thanks Asa for being on the show. And you're going to say something, and that's going to be it. And then I'm going to like stop it, and then we'll continue on for however many more minutes.
Selling, I was doing a lot of sandwich lease options. I was doing a lot of pre-foreclosure flips and didn't really need it. And I started building my credit a little bit. And when 0708 hit, I had a lot of debt collectors calling me, right? I mean, it was a bad situation, right? I'm like, dude, I got to figure out a way to stop all this.
Yeah.
The bankruptcy laws were different. I couldn't file Chapter 7. I could only do a 13. I didn't want to do a 13. If I'm going to file bankruptcy, I want to do a 7 and wipe it away clean. And so I just opened the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act out of desperation and necessity, and saw that it was amazing how, if you don't know, you're gonna get taken advantage of. So that's when it started, really in 09, and I was building upon what I was already doing. So it happened on accident. I started helping myself, and then people were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I started talking to people, and just started getting referrals, and it just built from there. I stepped into the private lending space again because I couldn't get nothing going. That's why it happened. I couldn't get some deals going. The hard money lenders were ridiculous because I'm in Cook County. Most lenders won't lend in Cook County if they're very conservative. And I said, man, I got to flip this, man. I got to find another way to invest in real estate. And a good buddy of mine, Rick Henderson, had found the Banker's Code and bumped into George. I don't know where. And the romance started from there, man.
Going back, so wrapping it back up. Going back to this, I'm super excited about having you on the show, man. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have a lot of fun. Like most people, I don't have this type of background with, so it's just going to be a good time, man. And that's it, man.
All right, man. Drink some more moonshine. Yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Oh, man. So seriously, if somebody now this is the benefit of being a podcast host, right? I get to ask questions.
Yeah.
So if somebody they've been affected, what are some of the, and this will be something we talk about on the next podcast, right?
Okay.
So what are 2 or 3 things that the listening audience in the next podcast can take away from this and say, okay, this is what whether I work with Asa, whether I don't do anything, I just sit in my living room and I go on the computer and I do this, or write a letter and I do this. What are 2 or 3 things that somebody can do right now that can positively affect their credit score?
Right. The first thing, dude, is look up the definition of discipline and become familiar with that. And I say that because the next thing I'm going to say could put them back in trouble if they're not disciplined. And that is call all your credit cards that you do have and increase your limit.
Ooh. Now, that would be totally contradictory because most people are thinking, oh, well, Ace is going to tell me I need to come up with $500 extra a month and start paying down my credit card.
Right.
Why would you tell somebody to increase their credit card or credit limit?
If you have, let's just $10,000 for easy numbers.
Okay.
And you have 8,000 balance.
Okay.
Okay, so you're 80%.
Yep.
Right? So if you ask them to increase, let's say this is someone with the 797.
Okay.
And they call to request a balance increase. So this 797, they're good with everything. They're just stuck at that point because of their utilization. As soon as they go from the 10,000 at 80% utilization to 20,000, they drop down to 40% utilization.
Look at that.
Is going to go up by at least 20 points, 30 points. Well, shoot, they're already high, so it's going to go up by 5 for sure. Right?
It's going to get them above that hurdle that they've been trying to get above.
Dude, that one's so easy. Just request a limit increase. You have to spend nothing extra, right? And now, because they're above that 800, now they can go get another credit card and pay off the other one, probably. And with the other one, they're going to have a bigger balance.
Oh my
now their 40% just went down to 30%, and the score goes up another 5 points.
Oh my goodness, man.
Isn't that good stuff?
That is good stuff. That
Yeah.
is good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And that's really the main thing. And then you can also say, hey, what's my current interest? What's the introductory rate? Well, I would like the introductory rate. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, well, you can't talk to your manager. Oh, you get the manager on the phone. Oh, I can't do it. I said, okay, well, can you transfer me to what do they call it? Customer service department. I want to close out my account. No. Right. And when we can give you the introductory rate for 8 months. Okay, thank you. So those two things: raise your limit and drop your interest.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
And that, bro, like seriously, we've got to schedule the next call. Like that's
all right, man.
so incredible.
Yeah.
Things.